And I love it cuts back to him, and he is composited in front of a fake night sky with fake flames, and it just looks terrible. It looks so bad. And I was like, of course, you gotta fridge the wife too. Why not? Why not?
Robert.
Hello and welcome back to the 169th episode of Good Bad or Bad Bad, the show where we watch terrible movies and tell you if you should too. I'm your host, Mr. Brian Shilligo, joined again by the other host.
We're gonna do
Mr.
our next
Seagal.
movie on Mr. Constipated Face, Cocaine Man. We're going back to the well, baby. Steven
Back to the
Seagal.
Seagal well. Holy shit.
This one I'm very disappointed we haven't done before.
Yeah,
this
how
one's
have we not
insane.
gotten to this one before? Because this movie's fucking nuts, Kyle. The film we're talking about today is 2003's Out for a Kill.
They murdered his wife.
Get out of the car, get your hands over your head.
I think you got the wrong guy, sir. I'm a professor.
Which sounds like a James Bond title.
It does. It's
I mean, it's a View to a Kill, but like...
right, yeah, but it doesn't sound, I guess it does. A lot of his movies have like kill in the title, but I don't know. I just didn't sound exactly like a Seagal title to me. But yeah, it's definitely a Seagal movie, that's for sure.
They say when one sets out on revenge, to first dig two graves.
So this movie came out in 2003. Written and directed by people I'd never heard of and couldn't find anything very interesting on them when I clicked on them.
Yeah, there's probably a reason for that.
But I believe it has to have been in connection with like some sort of Hong Kong.
Well, the crazy
studio
thing
or
is, if you look
something.
at all the people behind the scenes, you know, like your gaffers, camera crew, what have you, all their names in with like a NOV or a KOV or a
like
ski.
Russian?
Yeah, very
So
Russian.
like, because they're in Eastern Europe for some of this as well. Like they're in Russia or something, or Eastern Russia at some point, like near China. But yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. To me, based on some of the fight scenes we'll see later, it felt like they definitely had either stunt coordinators or somebody involved that was a a big part of like Hong Kong or something
Definitely.
like that.
I
We
saw
get
that
some
with
wire.
all the fight coordinators.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
There was some Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon
There's
shit
some
in here.
incredible wire work in this. When I say incredible, big air quotes on that. It depends on what I guess you mean by incredible, but we'll get to it in a little bit. It's kind of amazing. So the movie opens up and we're introduced, and I still don't know if this is out of order, Kyle. Can you?
No, this narrative. Once again, the narrative makes no sense.
There you go.
It is absolute chaos. We open at this strip club in like Belarus or something like that.
In the aftermath of a shooting.
Yeah, there's people at a strip
Bodies
club
everywhere,
as you would.
And well, we open up first. He walks in,
right,
and then we
'cause
flash back.
Okay, so we open on the massacre, like
the aftermath.
and then these two cops are introduced,
and one of them is Tommy Ling. She works for like the Chinese government or something. I don't know. She might be with the U.S. I'm not sure. And then her partner.
No, she's with the China. So she's with China. Right?
Okay,
and then her partner is like Ed
DEA.
Gray or something.
I don't know.
But he's
his
with
name.
a DA. So we have these two cops who are brought together. I'm guessing through Interpol. That's about the only way it makes sense.
I have no idea, Kyle. The movie never even gets to begin to address how they.
But there's
showed
like
up together.
later on where he just stops by her office, Steven Seagal's character, and it's in New York.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have no idea. But so we open up on this, and I have to talk about how the guy who's the DEA agent, the actor's name, Corey Johnson, you may recognize him from The Motherfucking Mummy. He's one of the Americans in The Mummy who gets killed. He's also the federal agent in Hellboy, the first Hellboy movie. He's like that guy. He plays feds and Americans and everything all the time.
It's his thing.
He's a very bit part guy, but I love him in The Mummy. But anyway, so he's the American guy, and they're going through this crime scene. And as they're walking through, we get these quick flashes of like what transpired, like as she's kind of looking at bodies and stuff like that. And then after that ends, we actually fully flash back and see the whole massacre play out.
And it's just a Chinese crime syndicate coming in. Here's the thing: for the amount of massacre in this, there's only 6 guys that come in, and it looks like they just got blown away by just machine gun after machine gun.
And they shoot a lot. Like they shoot for like 10 minutes straight.
Yes,
and I was actually amazed how few bodies there were, because it seemed like a full bar. Full club, and then afterwards we see like a handful of bodies, but they shoot everybody forever. They just mow down this entire strip club full of people. And then as they're leaving, one idiot who survived stands up, and they're like, "Why would you get up?
What are you doing?"
Why would you get up?
He gets shot, of course, because he's dumb.
Yeah. But then as they're leaving, we get this incredible transition that this movie does one time and never again. The editing in this has some weird stylistic things.
Yeah, the editing we'll get into it.
Yeah,
we'll get into
this one in particular, as they're leaving this, we transition to the introduction of the crime syndicate. And we get this shot of a revolver spinning in midair in like red smoke, and the camera like zooms in on it, and I'm like, what is this? And then it like super quick cuts and slam cuts to this table, like this conference table.
Yeah, so you have like the head of, I guess, is this the triad?
They never say like what. I think it's just this guy's organization, but they never say an official name or
like
anything.
as generic as you can be. You have him at the head, and you have all of his
underlings.
Yeah. And they're like, we need to do something about moving in on this territory.
Yeah, another gang.
They're transferring drugs. That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
and they're using ancient jade statues to do it.
Which we'll get to in a second when we're introduced as Seagal's character. But during this scene, I love, and this was my first clue to it, and it became a thing throughout the movie, and I was like, oh, that makes this... I think one of the reasons this movie is so confusing is he's introducing all of his underlings, and each time the camera like zooms in and freeze frames in black and white.
What?
And you can hear a that is like normally in a movie would be like text being written on, like a typewriter, like a computer terminal, like popping up their information. So it would be like code name Spider, like deadliest man in Asia, or whatever. I don't fucking whatever.
Silo from Paris.
Was it like the pan and burn, but it was like zoomed in?
No, I think they just, whoever exported this version forgot to accidentally turned off the text layer or whatever.
Oh, no.
Because later throughout the movie, you'll notice this. Anytime we go to a new location in like a different part of the world or whatever, you hear that same sound effect.
Just went up in flames.
Which is clearly supposed to be a lower third saying like, we're in Kyrgyzstan or whatever now, and it's never there, and it doesn't look to me like we're like zoomed in and like it's cut off, because the framing all looks pretty natural. To me, I think they just didn't. They got
back the prints, and they're like, all right, we're already 2 weeks behind. Just run it.
I don't know, and I'm wondering if it's just the version we watched. We watched it on Crackle, which is an official version. Like it's not like a bootleg streaming service.
It was the only one that we could find that was, well, spoiler free.
Yeah. But also, it's an official version.
Yeah,
it's not
I'm sure they made contact with the distributor for it.
I don't know how they got this copy, but this copy has none of, and also because I also think it doesn't have captions, because there are scenes where people speak Chinese to each other for great lengths of time with no subtitles, and I'm pretty sure all of that stuff is supposed to be in this movie. Yes. It is just on a layer that was not visible in the cut that we watched, which is very infuriating.
赛罗不在，
One day.
你要去哪儿？
So they're combining their gangs again, and they're talking about this drug smuggling organization they're running, or operation they're running, and then we cut, and then we get an establishing shot, incredible establishing miniature shot.
Yes,
cool.
I saw that and I was like, wait. This is just a miniature.
This is a miniature, man. We get this big, moving, sweeping camera shot over this like miniature temple in like a sandstorm, and it's actually looks pretty good. I was like, all right, that's pretty fun. And then we zoom into this temple, and Steven Seagal is there.
Steven Seagal is an archaeologist?
He is an archaeologist. We will find out. He is an archaeologist. He just went because right after this this scene, we see him winning an award.
He's a doctor of archaeology. He's Indiana Jones.
Yes, but also a martial artist, which we'll get to.
Oh, God.
The archaeology thing is not relevant.
That's an insane ask to have me believe. I mean, granted, we also had in The Patriot where he's a doctor.
Yes. Yeah. I cannot believe Seagal is anything other than constipated. I'm sorry. I don't think his official occupation in life is constipated. I'm fairly certain. We see something in the temple and I don't remember what. Then we cut to him getting an award. Like he's like an award-winning archaeologist or whatever.
He gets an award and he's just like, hey, I got a tiger statue. That's my award. We are quickly introduced to his partner,
his assistant, or something like that.
His wife, and then his partner's father, and that's like the only people who matter.
Very quickly, yeah.
And then do we immediately?
Then we cut back to another dig or something.
Yeah, so they immediately fly back to China for another dig.
Another dig. And while they're there, and I have to talk about real quick. This is a little thing. I don't know if I have the screenshot in my notes from IMDb because it cracked me up as I was scrolling through in this opening part. I was looking because I was trying to figure out the title thing, and why none of the subtitles are there. I was trying to see if IMDb had because a lot of times they'll have the
different versions or something like that,
or the thing where it's gaffes or whatever. Or mistakes, and it'll be there's no subtitles or no graphic overlay for some reason or whatever, and I couldn't find anything. But on the IMDb page, they have the quote section, and my favorite thing ever. I only saw one quote, and it's the one that IMDb chose and pulled on the front page for this movie. It just says, "Professor Robert Burns." That's Steven Seagal's character. Professor Robert Burns. I have to go to the bathroom. That's it. That's the. Oh God. That's the. I have to go to the bathroom.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Which is perfect. That's just. I just love it so much.
Is that Coke finally wearing off?
I have to go to the bathroom. Oh, incredible.
Oh, man.
But while they're on this dig, they're looking at stuff, and some dude in a trench coat is walking around being weird and just stomping on shit.
Well, he's supposed to be oh, look, it's somebody who's here as part of the dig.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like an archaeologist to me.
Beijing University Archaeology.
Not an archaeologist, is he?
Not really.
To be fair, he did just stomp on an ancient relic that was there's a plate or something sitting inside one of the little photography things, and he just steps on it and crushes it, and he's like, okay. But so there's clearly something else going on, and then him and Seagal and his assistant go into this tent or whatever, and they're looking through some of the artifacts, and they find the drugs.
They pop one open, and they're like, oh look, there's drugs, and this is where the agents move in.
Yeah, they're like, we got to get out of here, and then they get chased immediately by the whole gang or whatever, by the whole mob or whatever.
So they're trying to make their getaway in this really shitty 80s Jeep.
Incredible car chase in these Jeeps through the desert. They're just cruising around.
They are driving. As they're driving, the Chinese government starts whipping out these semi-automatic rifles.
Yeah.
And we are introduced to some of the greatest CGI ever.
It's so amazing, Kyle. I love this shot. They are shooting, and it goes into a bullet cam.
Yes.
And it goes into a slow-mo bullet cam of these bullets ka-chunk, ka-chunk, hitting the car and moving up. But as soon as they started, this chase started, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen. She's going to die. Because it's a Seagal movie, all the women have to die. But specifically so she can die to be replaced by the other Asian woman that got introduced 5 minutes ago in this movie, which is exactly what fucking happens. We get that slow-mo shot of the bullets.
So you have these several rounds going into the vehicle, and those kind of line up with the driver's seat.
Yeah. But no, they hit her in the passenger. Or is he on the... He could be...
No, he's on the left-hand side.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought he might be on the right. But yeah, I think you are right that he's on the left-hand side. Because they are on the left side. But somehow they hit her. So she gets hit by the bullet. Immediately killed. And I was like, imagine a Steven Seagal movie where he's not motivated by revenge for a dead woman. I can't fathom it, Kyle.
No.
It cannot exist.
It doesn't. No.
Exist.
So he continues his... He's relatively unaffected.
Yes. He's like, oh no. Anyways,
yeah, exactly. And as he's continuing this pace that the Chinese government has been keeping up with, he just escapes.
He gets away, and then he ends up at like a military base, I think.
And completely surrounded.
Yeah, and like the entire battalion of Chinese soldiers comes out and surrounds his car.
They're like, we need this crane shot.
Yeah, it's got, it like borderline feels like something out of like a fucking Mel Brooks movie or something. Like the camera pulls out, and there's just like a circle.
I'm not sure how much you noticed how bad the green screen was
in the window behind.
Yes.
If you can see. I did notice that. It's clearly footage while the car was driving or something, but they put it in to show it's supposed to be people like circling the car, but it's the camera. It looks ridiculous.
So I can tell like this was done on film. Like they shot this on film and then brought it over.
It does look,
they call it digital intermediate.
Yeah.
And when they brought it into the digital intermediate, they had to have done this in like After Effects or something like that. So they keyed behind him and then just forgot to take off the layer or pre-comp it to something else so it wouldn't keep that green key. And so now it's just moving behind him with their superimposed.
It looks
so bad.
So bad. There's a lot of really bad composited shots in this movie. We'll get to some more here later. But he gets taken in by the government. They throw him in a jail cell. He meets his best friend for life, who we never see again, Kyle. What is
King,
that?
right? With a King?
Yes, I think that's his name.
The name's King. Burns.
Just this dude in a prison cell that he gets thrown in with. And then when Seagal gets released a few minutes later, he's like, see you later, brother. You're my best friend for life.
Once a friend for life.
Take care, my man.
You ain't going down no rat hole.
Don't forget about me.
So he gets thrown into a Chinese jail, right?
Yeah.
And he just happens to be tossed in with the only other American there.
Yeah.
And it was like, so would you get knocked in? What are you in here for?
I was crossing the Kazakhstan border. Trafficking some weed. Some rag-headed motherfucker.
I was trafficking drugs across the Kazakhstan border. Oh, as you do. Okay. Bye.
Bye, best friend, new bestie. He literally is like, one day, we're friends for life. He has his whole thing.
This guy had to be friends with like a producer or something. Like, yeah, I get you in for like a scene or something.
And again, I thought surely this character's gonna come back at the end of the movie somehow.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Because he says like, oh, we're friends for life. Like they set up like they're gonna have some sort of relationship later in the movie. We never see him again. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Although considering it's a Steven Seagal film, that's probably his best case scenario.
Yeah, honestly. But so he then gets released, like I said, and he gets released because they want to basically use him as bait. They think he might be involved in the smuggling, but they don't have any hard evidence. And he's like, no, I knew nothing about the smuggling. I'm just an archaeologist. And they're like, fine, you can leave, but they're going to follow him around and see if he can like lead them to whoever's doing the drug smuggling, whether or not he's involved, basically.
Yeah, which... Okay, so the Chinese government has killed his assistant, right?
Yes. No, well, I thought it was the mobsters that killed his assistant. I thought he was being chased by like the members of the gang who were
so the members of the
drugs.
gang were disguising themselves as part of the archaeology team?
I think that's what's going on. I think they're using I know they're for sure using the archaeology dig as a front for the drug smuggling. And I think, because then when we see that one guy that steps on the plate, he's clearly a mobster and he's disguised as an archaeology guy. I think they're supposed to all be part of the mob.
I'll give the film credit on this. It sounds a little bit better than using karate dojos as a crime front.
It does. But apparently in the comments, people said actually back in the day, some of them, I don't know if you saw in our comments on No Retreat, No Surrender, people were like, actually some of the dojos back in the day were in fact fronts for organized crime. I thought I saw a comment about that. I could be wrong.
That's hilarious.
But anyways, but then he gets to go home and meet up with his wife, which I don't remember her name. She's barely in the movie until she gets killed, because of course she does.
Yes.
But they get to have sexy time. So we get boobs for like 3 seconds because of course we have to. And then we jump from there. I believe it's to the funeral, or not the funeral, but the scene where it's the memorial for the...
We forgot to talk about a character we were introduced to before this. Crash. The pilot.
That's not yet. We're not there yet. Oh, well, he is. Yes, sorry. We are introduced, yes, when they're flying to China before the dig. Where his assistant gets killed when they're flying to China. Or in China they're flying there. I'm pretty sure he's the one who
flies them out to the dig site from wherever they were in China.
He's in like 3 seconds
because they're in like a tiny little plane. It is important. They didn't go across the Pacific Ocean in this tiny little plane.
I thought they did, which was very confusing. When he shows up later and he's like, I flew you in China. I'm like, but now we're in America. What are you? I was very confused. But anyways, yeah. Sorry, that character does get introduced because he comes back in a scene here very shortly.
Well, we'll talk about him when the time comes.
In just a minute. But now we're at the temple or whatever.
So they're at like a traditional Chinese like
Buddhist temple or whatever.
But like in Chinatown.
Yeah.
They're back in New York.
Yeah. And so he's with the dad of the father of his assistant who was murdered, and he's talking to him a little bit at this like memorial thing where they're like have like a shrine set up or whatever. And then he goes up to pay his respects. And again, there's some Chinese speaking here where I'm pretty sure there were supposed to be subtitles that we're just not getting, but maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
There is no mirror. There is no dust. There is no darkness. Only the mind is light.
But he goes up to pay his respects. And while he's doing that, I was like, why are there two just random Buddhist monks like standing in the foreground of the shot? I don't know, whatever. Maybe it makes sense. But then he goes up there to pay his respects and he like puts some incense in. And then there's an explosion.
Yes, what?
And the two monks who were standing there just start attacking.
Yes,
it's like, what is happening?
This is chaos. They draw swords.
Yes.
Yeah. And he is fitting them off with like bamboo. Like what
sticks, like bamboo like sticks. It looks like Stick Fighter, basically.
But one for play.
We get this completely out of just out of thin air fight sequence.
Also, we have had any sort of indication that Steven Seagal is a martial artist. Like his character is a martial. He is an archaeologist. To be fair, we don't know anything about his backstory. They will explain a little bit. They never explain why he knows like martial arts as well as he does. They explain that he was previously a thief or whatever in a previous life, and we'll talk about that later. But they never explain like, oh, and then he went and studied martial arts for 5 years at some time. It's just all of a sudden he can just beat up these assassins or whatever. I love there's this great shot where he flicks one of the guys. He like grabs his neck with the bamboo sticks and like throws him. And he does that Seagal thing that he does in every movie we've done where he like flips and throws the guy and then his hands like they just like
yes.
His hands just like flap around.
I think
it's
there's
like he
something
doesn't know
fucked up with his shoulders.
I think there must be. He looks so ridiculous every time he does anything.
The other dude, he just gets into a sword fight and stabs him.
That fluctuates between slow-mo and very sped up. Because
we got to make it look fast.
Yeah, to hide the fact that Seagal's like, oh God, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. Yeah. So getting this, and he just stabs the shit out of this guy.
We are introduced to the really stupid theme on all the people sent to kill him. They have a tattoo on their
like forearm.
Yes, and
it's a Chinese symbol. They're each a different one though, that say different things.
The payoff for all this is so fucking stupid.
Danger below.
So dumb. Why would they have those? I don't understand anyways. But yeah, so they all have these symbols, and the first one says like under or something like that, and then one of them says like peace it doesn't matter. Each time he kills a guy, he will look at this and read it and then remember it for later, basically.
Peaceful.
But we'll find out shortly after this scene that I think it's when they're discussing, somebody is discussing his background, and they're like, so he used to be like a thief. He would steal.
He was like
artifacts,
artifacts, what have you.
And he got arrested.
He spent 7 years in prison and earned a doctorate.
We found out that this Guaylo professor was once one of the greatest thieves in Shanghai, New York, and Paris.
In archaeology. That's his background. So now he's on the straight and narrow.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, your correspondence PhD in archaeology that you get while you're in prison? I don't know, Kyle. It might be.
I know you can get like an associate's degree in prison.
Yeah, you can do a whole PhD program in the 5 years while you're in prison, I guess. I mean, maybe. I don't fucking know, but it's very funny.
Using his expertise in Chinese artifacts, he used his prison stay to earn himself a doctorate in Chinese archaeology.
Still doesn't explain why you can sword fight and shit, but like whatever. I guess it doesn't matter. Then he gets home. He goes back home after that fight, and he's talking to his wife, and he takes her out to dinner. And then while they're out to dinner, these mobsters show up.
It's also where that incredible quote comes from.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Use the bathroom. Is leaves, and then they get attacked.
I was trying to go.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Basically, they show up and they're like, leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. And Seagal initially goes, okay, I'll leave you alone. And they're like, and if you don't, we'll hurt you and your wife and your dog or whatever. And he goes, oh yeah. And then he beats them all up. He seemed perfectly happy to be like, I'll wash my hands of this. But then the next second, he's like, no, I'm beating all of you.
So this restaurant, once again, this had to be a buddy of one of the producers or something like that, being like, "Hey, I got a place that you guys can use, for this film thing." Is like they get in there and they're like, "This is tiny.
It's a tiny restaurant.
This is a really small restaurant.
It's gonna film in this corner over here."
Like every single time they try to do a thing, they end up hitting something.
Yes,
because there's no room.
One of my favorite shots in this fight is he's beaten up several of the guys already, and there's one guy that has a gun and he's trying to shoot, and Seagal like Superman dives at him, but then lands on his feet somehow. You see a shot of Seagal like horizontal to the floor diving, and then it cuts, and then it cuts and Seagal lands on his feet. And I was like, there's no way you could convince me Seagal could do that. There's no way.
They are fighting over the gun, and I think they end up hitting like two people fighting over the gun in the traditional like,
they're just like shooting random rounds everywhere, hitting people in the restaurant. But he's able to beat them all up, and they run out of the restaurant. And I have to talk about the scene where they get home and he apologizes because it's so awkward. It's like 2 seconds. They get home, he walks in, and his wife's standing there, and he goes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And he like awkwardly leans in. It's so weird.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know who those people are, but I will find out.
I love it so much.
My God.
Then it cuts outside their house. They've gone to bed.
Yes, there is a storm raging, and this beautiful graphic, like
CG
it's
moon
so bad,
and clouds
it's so
behind
ridiculous.
the house.
This house looks like
cardboard.
Yes, the house is clearly fake.
Yeah, it's tiny. I mean, I don't know. It could be a normal, but yeah, because they're gonna blow it up in a minute. Spoilers. But he hears some thunder. I don't know if did yours do this? My playback.
Oh, it was like flickering, right?
Where we go.
Yeah.
I tried to record it.
That happened twice in the film.
Yes,
I was like,
it happened twice to me.
It's something to do with Crackle's player.
Yes, it is Crackle's player for sure. But at one point, it was during the scene where they wake up when the thunder goes off, because the thunder went off, and then it just kept repeating over.
I hope you know, the way you said that, the only thing going through my head right now is Bob Seger.
What? Oh.
Night Moves.
Yeah.
I woke last night to the sound of thunder.
But so he thinks he hears something, I guess, and he goes outside to investigate.
And there's ridiculous composited shots.
Like, they're terrible.
Absolutely insane.
Insane. He walks outside, he's like looking around this toy house or whatever that he's fucking living in, apparently. And he's like walking around, and he gets just far enough away from the house and turns around.
I do like she wakes up and she's like, Robert,
boom! Fucking explodes, and I love it cuts back to him, and he is composited in front of a fake night sky with fake flames, and it just looks terrible. It looks so bad. And I was like, of course, you gotta fridge the wife too. Why not? Why not?
Robert.
But then, so he's very upset because now his wife is dead along with the assistant, just killing every woman in this movie. And then he goes to talk to the assistant's dad the next day. And I don't know if you noticed, he's walking down the stairs. Like, it cuts into their thing, and they're walking down the stairs, and this whole conversation's ADR. All of it is ADR.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Probably
oh my God.
Movie is.
Within 1 week, I'll avenge their deaths before the funeral of my wife.
Yeah. He's like, I'm here to make you a promise. In 1 week, I'll have revenge for my wife and your daughter. And he's like, okay, great. And that's all 80 yard. And then they keep talking. And I love this little snippet of conversation they have. Seagal, within a span of 2 sentences, says,
They say, kill one to warn 100. They say when one sets out on revenge to first dig 2 graves.
He tries to be like very deep with all these.
Yeah, but he does 2 of them in a row. He does 2 of these proverbs in a row. He's like, they say kill one to warn 100. And then he finishes that thought. And then his next sentence is, they say, when you set out on revenge, dig 2 graves. And I'm like, what? Is he only going to speak in fucking idioms the rest of this movie?
Yes,
like,
yes he is.
In fucking random platitudes. It's so stupid.
There is no mirror. There is no dust. There is no darkness. Only the mind is light.
Then we go from there to the airport, and this is where we're reintroduced to Crash.
Yes, this is insane. So, why is his name Crash?
I don't know.
Because he never has.
Oh, is that what he say that? I missed that completely.
And
ridiculous. They call me Crash because I never have. Next time you need to go somewhere, call me.
Seagal wants to take flight lessons?
Well, he needs information because somebody hired Crash to fly them to that that dig site. He was their inside guy, if you will. So he was like, he's like, I need you to teach me how to fly.
And he's like, okay. And they get up in the air and they're flying. And I love the conversation. He says something like, he asks him some question, and Seagal goes wrong, or he goes. Seagal maybe asks him, "So you think I'm crazy?"
Like,
and the guy's
no,
like,
"No, you're wrong. I am crazy."
I am crazy.
And they nosedive.
Do you think I'm crazy? No, man. Wrong answer. I am crazy. You're crazy. Now.
It's incredible. And then my favorite is it cuts down to the ground.
What are these people? What are they doing here?
How are they there?
We have our DA and Chinese cops, and they're just like, I'm liking this guy already.
And it's what? It's clearly green screen in front of a sky.
It's so bad.
What is happening?
I'm really starting to like this guy.
Me too.
When that cut-in happened, I was like, what in the hell is going on?
So stupid. I love it so much. But basically, he's trying to scare the information out of this guy about who hired him or whatever. And eventually, after enough crazy
barrel rolls and loops and stuff like that.
And the camera work and editing they do with this, whenever he starts diving towards the ground, we get these crazy quick insert shots of a camera zooming at the ground and stuff. It's incredible.
Do you think I'm crazy? No, man. Wrong answer. I am crazy. You're crazy. Now, you listen to me.
He does tell him I don't remember the guy's name.
But here's the thing, he gives him a setup information.
Yeah, fake information. He goes, go to this barbershop, I think is what he says. Yeah.
Then he's like, yeah. I told him exactly what you told me to tell him. I was like, okay, hang on. Did you expect him to come here and threaten you for info?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you just tell him? Tell him the information right away. I don't know. It's very strange. I guess so that he would trust that it was real information. I don't know. But he gives him this because he calls somebody afterwards and he's like, I told him to go to the barbershop or whatever, just like you said. And they're like, good job.
Sent him?
Yes, sir.
To the barbershop?
That's what I did.
In Chinatown?
Yeah. He believed everything.
And if you thought the last scene was fucking crazy.
It gets so insane, Kyle. I was not prepared for this. We cut to this barbershop. He walks in. Outside, the DEA agent and the Chinese cop are there again. And they watch him walk in. And I was so mad about this. Did you notice this, Kyle? The mummy guy turns to Tommy, or vice versa. One of them turns to the other one and goes, should we follow him in? And the other one turns to them and goes,
Think we should go in together?
Forget it, Tommy. It's Chinatown.
Forget it, Tommy. It's Chinatown. And I was like, fuck
God.
you. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. Come on. And then I realized that this is the only scene from this movie that I have seen. I have seen clips of this scene on Twitter and stuff.
Because it's insane.
Because it's fucking insane.
He goes into this barbershop and they have this guy who has a lab coat on.
What is his deal?
I don't know. But
he's
got crazy hair. Yeah.
I was like, is he turning into a fucking werewolf? What is happening? Because he's scratching his head and stuff like he's like a dog. It's so strange. but he's talking to this guy, and then they just get into a fight immediately.
And Steven Seagal does half this fight from
sitting in a chair, which is the most Seagal thing ever. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna start the fight. I'm just gonna sit in this chair because if I stand up, I will shit myself. They're like, all right, Steven, whatever.
Maybe we can like have you stand up for a second.
I'm gonna sit in this chair until later, and then all the body double can do all the parts where I'm standing.
Steven, are you okay? You got labored breathing while sitting.
I am not okay. I am shitting actively into my pants right now. If I stand up, it will go everywhere. But he does the first part of this fight in the chair. And Kyle, I was not prepared
for the wire work.
Because all of a sudden, this guy does like a charge up move, and then he jumps into the air, spins around like a helicopter.
Yeah.
Seagal grabs him, throws him against the wall,
and then he goes full Spider-Man and just starts climbing all over the wall.
Starts running around.
I mean, they are in New York. This could actually be Spider-Man.
Are they? Yeah, you're right. They are in New York at this point, I think. I don't think they've gone back to China. I can't remember. It's, again, that part of knowing where they are is hard because we didn't get the like location lower thirds or whatever. But yeah, oh my God. I was like, why is this man a mutant? What is happening? He's literally like running across walls like it's The Exorcist or something. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
But he's like doing all these flips and shit, and like Steven Seagal's grabbing him in midair
and like throwing him around and shit.
Like physics just don't exist.
They don't exist. At one point, he like flips like in mid, like Seagal like throws him up and he like spins clearly on wires, like just like in midair. I'm like, what is happening? It's incredible, but it's the only scene like this. Well, there's some other crazy scenes, but it's the only scene where it's like, well, what does this man have superpowers? Like, what is this supposed to be going on? This is the most
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon-esque thing.
Yeah,
because there's other parts where he flips people and they use wires.
Yeah,
but it's just for the stunt.
Yeah, and it feels like it's like elevated physics. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, they go flying further than they should.
This isn't somebody literally just in the air and then stopping.
Yeah, in this scene, it's like magic power. He runs across walls like a spider, man. Like, it's like, what is happening? It's crazy. It's amazing. It's super fun to watch, but it makes no sense. Anyway, so he beats this guy up and somehow gets information of the next place to go, basically.
I don't think he got any information. I think he just killed the dude who was like, tattoo.
Yeah. Well, somehow he knows where to go next. Oh, no, because that's right. He walks out and there's a little kid sweeping and he asks him because there was either somebody else there or something, and the kid directs him to some restaurant.
Yeah, because somebody left like pre-fight.
That's right, yeah. But I don't know if you noticed, the little kid who's sweeping, who gives the line that tells him like go that way, is clearly an adult doing a little kid voice. It's really bad. It's really bad.
You went their way, mister.
Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's incredible.
If you're looking for the half moon, it's over there.
Oh God.
Oh man.
And then so Seagal just moseys into an illegal backroom Mahjong casino.
What? Yes.
He just walks in.
Okay.
And apparently nobody there has a gun, which seems surprising.
Yeah.
Considering it's a backroom illegal casino.
And also run by
like the mob
international crime family
syndicate,
or whatever. Yeah.
Nobody has a gun, though. He just starts beating up everybody. Mahjong tiles flying everywhere. It's incredible. Oh my God. And then after that, he then chases somebody somewhere. He ends up at some warehouse. And I was dying because in this warehouse, they once again just ADR all the exposition in. Like, we never see Seagal talking. It's just him, or it might be a different character.
Is this where he's fighting that one dude and they get in the really fast?
I think in a second. Yeah, that's at the end of this scene where he throws him out the window. Where he throws that guy out the way. Yeah. That's at the end of the scene. But in the first part, he's just like walking around investigating, but it's all just ADR of like, and like of him piecing together the mystery that they just clearly added all after the fact.
Now I have you. Who killed my wife? You? No. Silo?
I don't know. What's on the tiger's back? He's dipping with the crowd backed off.
But then that other guy shows up and he fights that guy. And yeah, there's a lot of like crazy fucking Wing Chun or whatever.
That's how you know that they're really good when they're doing this shit really quick.
fast. Yeah, but he's able to get wrist control on that guy and does the thing where he's got his arm like this, and he's like, "Fucking tell me what I want to know," and the guy's like, "No," so he just throws him out the window.
All right.
Yep, and kills him. Then he's able to find something and figures out he does some sort of detective work to figure out he needs to go to like Russia, or it's not Russia.
No, Eastern Europe.
Somewhere in Eastern Europe, yeah.
I think he gets some information somewhere, but the cops come in and they find a thing of matches from the Eastern Europe strip club at the beginning of the movie.
This is what I'm talking about, Kyle.
What is this?
What is this? Okay, so then he goes there, and then the cops go there.
Yeah.
But it's the club from the beginning, but
it's opening.
It's fine. And I couldn't decide, Kyle. Initially, I thought, wait, was the beginning...
Not just is it fine, they also have like members of the Chinese crime syndicate in there.
Yeah. And then maybe they've taken it over at this point, but I thought initially, I was like, wait, so was that scene at the beginning, is that about to happen? And they just showed us this, I thought maybe we saw the opening scene at the strip club actually happens here in the timeline of the narrative, but that's not what happened.
No, it's chaos.
It's just like, why are we here? How are we? I don't understand at all how any of this connects at all. But we are in this strip club again. It's called like Pink's or something like that. Yeah, and
this additional, like from here on, like this like 30 minutes of them figuring this stuff out, like it's like, what? Okay, so was the rest of the first, like everything up to this point in the film could have been condensed to like 30 minutes, if you will. And then this seems like the more hooking narrative to where they're actually investigating stuff.
Yeah, it's like the last 20 minutes of the movie. They go inside and they could not look more like cops. The two cops walk in. I mean, what's his name? The American mummy guy is straight up just... He's wearing like the trench coat. He's just dressed exactly like every. He's
like Columbo almost.
Yeah, it looks like fucking Columbo. He goes in, and they direct them to a tattoo shop, I believe. So then they go to this tattoo shop, and she goes in to kind of Tommy goes in to investigate. And I gotta talk about this line because it cracked me up and makes no sense. She's like just walking around staring at them awkwardly while they're tattooing this dude's head. And they're like, "Do you want a tattoo? What are you doing?" And she's just kind of staring at them. And she goes,
"Does it hurt?"
Only if you wanted to.
"Does it hurt?" And the tattoo artist goes, "Only if you wanted to." And I'm like, that's not true. What? What does that even mean? That doesn't even make any sense.
I mean, they're only injecting ink into your skin.
I guess the idea is it's supposed to be that it's like she's being like coy and flirty, like only if you wanted to, but it doesn't make any sense. I was like, what?
And then
she should have said, "Do you like when it hurts?" That makes sense at least, or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, meanwhile, Seagal climbs he's somewhere else.
Yes, he's climbing a pipe.
Like he's fucking Agent 47, just fucking climbing through a window. Yep. And he goes into this room, and
this guy's already dead.
Guy. I don't know who these people are.
It was staged to look like a suicide.
Yeah, but he clearly or it was. We don't know. We'll never.
I don't know. It's impressive suicide if it was, because he shot himself through the eyeball.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be staged to look like a suicide. But again, we don't know who this is. I don't think. Maybe we do, and I just missed.
No, I think he was another member of the board or whatever.
Was he? Of
because
like the crime
he had the.
Oh, he does. He does have. You're right. He does have the tattoo.
I'm just like, okay, why?
Yeah, I don't know who killed him and why.
Okay.
Oh, maybe this is the first part of the mystery where later, because it is revealed later that the main crime guy, all of this was a plan to get all of his subordinates killed. So maybe he killed that guy?
Maybe.
Anyways, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, some other guys are in the hallway. Seagal kills them like in 2 seconds. Just shoots the shit out of them.
Just quick draws on.
I could not figure out where this was or why he was there or what was going on. It doesn't really matter that much. Cut back. Tommy goes back into the tattoo shop and starts like seducing the tattoo artist.
Yeah, and then suddenly this just becomes like
a drug thing.
Let's go to a brothel?
Well, no, it's a drugged in. I said seducing because initially I thought she was seducing her, but she actually starts touching her arm and touches her track marks.
Yeah.
And is like, "Hey, do you know where to have a good time or whatever?" Implying like, "I want some drugs, I want some heroin or whatever it is." Yeah.
She did come back for something else.
Maybe I did.
And then so the lady's like, yeah, I can take you there, and takes her to this like drug den or whatever where they sell
the DA dude is captive. Like he gets his ass kicked, and he gets
captive. He gets grabbed, and Seagal's just there and sees this happen somehow.
Doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and they're just outside the drug den now. So the American guy gets taken into the basement of the drug den. She's upstairs with the girl like in the top part. Trying to figure out like where these drugs are coming from, I guess is the idea. And she's about to get killed because they know she's like a cop.
There's a point when they're in the tattoo shop and they're like, "Do I look like a cop?" Yes,
you look like a cop. Yes.
Do I look like a cop to you?
Also, that moment when you walked in here and just stared at us and said nothing was real weird. We weren't really suspicious until you walked in and were just like, fuck is going on in here? It's so strange.
It's like airplane-esque, if you will, where there's somebody in like actual ceremonial uniform. Do I look like a cop to you?
Yeah, it's incredible.
I'm sorry I have to wake you. You a doctor?
That's right.
And then then we get this scene where Seagal shows up to save her just in time. We get this great shot where a guy bursts in with a gun in that room, and we get a zoom in on his eyeball, and you can see the reflection of Seagal in his eye. It's incredible. There's some cool like action shots.
It would be nice if they were like consistent.
Yeah, no, it goes in and out, and like most of the movie is just like not that interesting. Like visually, but there are some interesting shots here and there. Anyway, so he beats up all these guys and is able to like save her. She beats up the tattoo artist and says, "Tattoo this bitch." Great, good one.
Tattoo this bitch.
Okay.
And then there's
one dude's like, "I got to make a break," and jumps out of the window to escape Seagal.
Yeah. And after he does that, we get this crazy. The editing in this movie is insane. There's nonstop, just like flashes of other shit and stuff. But I think we might cut very briefly to, I don't know where we go. There's some crazy editing. They save the American guy, and then all of a sudden, Seagal is in a car chase.
Yes.
And I was like, what just happened? How did we get there? I think one of the people ran out of the drug den.
Yeah,
and got in a car.
It was the one who jumped out.
That's right. He's able to get in a car.
Did not break his legs jumping from a third floor.
No, and it seems like it was the middle of night, but now the car chases, it's like morning.
Yeah.
Like the sun is coming up. I guess it was, I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
I'm not going to lie, this car chase, because of the environment that they're in, which is like a little kind of industrial park, was giving me some Miami Connection vibes.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. My favorite thing is during this car chase, cars are like crashing and shit, and every now and then they will just cut to random shots of the mafia people's faces in the middle of this. It's chaos. The editing is fucking chaos. Anyway, so he's able to corner them, or that guy might get away. I don't remember what happens to that guy.
Where's Silo?
Paris! Somewhere in Paris!
Does he go into the laundromat? Does that guy like escape into the? Because the next thing is he gets into the laundromat with somebody.
I thought that was a different guy.
It might be. This guy might just die in the car accident.
Maybe. There's like 10 of them?
Yeah.
So that's why it's just a mess.
It's a mess of like, he just fights all these guys in different locations and stuff. Something happens to the guy in a car. Maybe he goes into a laundromat. We end up in a laundromat.
Yeah, which, hey, what are they doing in the laundromat?
Laundering money, Kyle! It's great. It's great. It's great, Kyle. It's great.
Okay.
So then there's this guy in the laundromat, and he walks in. He's like, "You touched the most sacred thing in my life. You killed my wife."
You touched the most sacred thing in my life. You killed my wife. Now, you forced me to dig 2 graves.
And they get in. I think he says this in a laundromat. It might be before.
This is where the sweet wire work is as well, where he's just flipping the dude over.
Yeah. I also love that in the way this fight starts is they run at each other and punch, and their fists collide.
And Seagal's punch is so powerful, it sends him back like 20 feet.
It's amazing. It's fucking amazing. I love it so much. But then at the end of this fight, he just punches the guy in the chest like 3 times, and I guess stops his heart because the guy falls over on the table and is dying. And Seagal walks up to him, and the guy gives him an address, I believe, for somewhere in Paris, which they're actually in Paris now.
Yeah, they're
I think,
looking
at this
for
point.
Silo.
Yeah.
Silo's the name of the
guy,
head dude.
the actual head of the crime syndicate. And he's like, it's some address in Paris, and I think they're already in Paris at this point. The cops also are there. They're just like a step behind Seagal the whole time. Like right after he leaves the laundromat, they walk into the laundromat and like start investigating and stuff. And they're just like right behind him the whole time. But then as they're leaving the laundromat, the American cop is like, what was this scene? He's like walking in slow-mo, talking about, we're hearing a voiceover of somebody telling him a story about like deep sea fishing.
Yeah.
What the fuck is any of this?
You know what they said, Tony? Whenever you're in there with the fish, whenever you're after the fish and you're out there in the ocean, you become the hunted, or else, you know.
And when you in the water, baby, Tommy, you listening to me? You the bait.
They pull so hard and I'm like, what is this? Like, we're in his head now all of a sudden?
But you got to make sure you don't become the bait.
Yeah. I was like, what is happening? I don't understand what this is. He's just and then he walks out of the laundromat and gets shot in the fucking chest and killed.
They get into like a Mexican-style standoff.
Yeah.
And immediately he gets shot, and then his partner has like almost no reaction.
Yeah. She's
like she's like, oh no. And then Seagal just comes in and shoots both of them.
Yeah, just saves the day. But I did not understand what that little moment of him like thinking about. I was like, what is this? Why are we in this side character's head right now? What I thought that's what I couldn't tell what was going on. It's very confusing. But then, so now he knows where to go. I think Tommy, he's like, I'll meet up with you later or whatever. But he breaks into the head honchos.
With very little resistance.
There's like 4 guards and he kills them like immediately. Like he has no trouble just like mowing down these guards in the head mobsters like HQ or whatever. And then he walks in and he has this big standoff with Silo, who is the head of the mob organization. And I love they got some great dialogue where Silo's talking to him about like, you must be a true scholar of Chinese literature to have figured this whole thing out or whatever. It's
what? You are truly a scholar of Chinese history and philosophy to have figured this out.
Not really. He just kind of murdered all the guys and they told him where to go next. Like, I don't know.
I just kind of murdered my way through this.
Yeah, it's kind of killed my way here.
Silo has like an explosive.
Yeah, a little bomb or something.
But he like just pushed it and then like it feels like he drops it
on
his
the ground
feet.
And then runs. And Seagal's fine? I don't know.
I'm surprised the Silo dude's fine because he was closer to the explosion.
Well, he goes out like a secret door, doesn't he? Or something?
He drops the thing, it explodes, and Seagal's like, oh explosion. Yeah. And then Silo's just like, ha ha, that had no effect on me. And then he goes out a secret door.
Yeah. So
there's a fire that is just raging now in this place.
Yeah, the room is burning down. And this, Kyle, I couldn't stop You could have asked me to write 100 ideas for how I thought this scene was gonna end, and I never would have gotten the right one. Because he runs. There's a fire everywhere. We're like, oh shit, he's gonna die or whatever.
Oh, they have these like ceremonial like ancient swords and stuff. So he grabs one off the wall. He grabs
a sword off the wall, and then runs over to the window. And you see a composited shot of Seagal and inside this smoky window. And then you see down and Silo is getting into his car out front. He turns around and looks up.
He like just in the greatest accuracy ever chucks the sword and decapitates him.
It spins and cuts his head off. I was like, what? That can't be how this ends. That can't be that he throws a sword from the second story of a building.
Too bad, Brian. It is. It's 100% what happens.
In the arms of the angels.
Perfectly cuts this guy's head off. Holy shit, I was dead, dude. I was dead.
The composited shot of his head like rolling off is great.
Yes, and then you just see his little CG Seagal composited into the window like But Seagal then is able to
he uses all the tattoos, which once again, why is the code to your safe tattooed on
the arms of your It's so stupid.
So he punches them somehow in order.
Yeah,
he just knows
well,
the
no,
order.
because he knows. So he figured out the order, and I think that's the "you must be a scholar of Chinese literature."
Okay.
I think it's a famous line from
Poem or
something.
something
Yeah,
like
from
that.
a poem or something.
So
he knows the
pushes
order.
them in order, and it gives all the information about the drug.
It's just all the paperwork. It's like, here's all of our incriminating evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's able to steal all that stuff from the safe, gets out of the building. Wasn't apparently that much of an issue. He just walks out of the burning building, shows up at Tommy's office, is like, here's all the paperwork. Take care of that. Good job. And then he goes to the funeral for his dead assistant and tells her dad, like, I did it. Killed all of them. You're welcome.
Yep.
And then Tommy shows up and they hold hands because they're just together now because, of course.
Reasons.
Sure, why not? It's a Seagal movie. The girl ends up with them for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, my God.
Fucking incredible. Kyle, this movie's good bad. Kyle, dude, the barbershop fight scene and the decapitation.
Those alone.
Movie is worth it for those two moments alone.
Incredibly shitty compositing.
Dude, it's
so great.
Brutal. It's so funny. And then on top of that, the little details, at least on the Crackle version, of not having any of the text there, even though you can hear the sound effect for the text coming in and stuff, it's just, those little details really push it over the top. I loved. When he cut that dude's head off with the sword, I was done. I literally couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard at that moment. It fucking killed me. Oh boy. That's going to do it for this episode. As always, you can do us a giant favor by heading over to patreon.com/GBorBB and support us over there for a few bucks a month. Get access to bonus content and other good stuff. I have a podcast called This Film Was Lit where we talk about movies that are based on books. When this episode's out, the most recent episode will have been Chocolat.
I have no clue what that is.
A 2000 film with I don't remember her name. Juliette Binoche or something like that. Johnny Depp is in it. Alfred Molina is in it.
I like the cast so far.
Yeah, it's got a great Judi Dench, I think, is it. It's got a great cast. It got nominated for 5 Oscars back in 2000 when it came out.
I enjoy almost everything Alfred Molina's in. He's a
I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know. But it's like a romantic comedy, but also I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what it's about. But anyways, that's out when this is out. We're doing that for Valentine's Day.
Nice.
We also have a merch store. Just go to tpublic.com, search for Good Bad or Bad Bad. You can buy our merch.
Have one, but
Kyle, we don't have a shirt, but Kyle has the pillow.
Really nice.
It's so voluminous, Kyle. It's so voluminous. And before we wrap up, we wanted to remind you, you can also do us a giant favor, and the filmmakers a giant favor. Go watch Wrath of the Viper Sniper, not just because you should, because it's fun and we're in it and other stuff, but also because next episode, we're doing Wrath of the Viper Sniper. That's right, baby.
Pocket Man and Cargo Boy 3!
Pocket Man PMCB3. There it is. Yes, that is our next episode number 170. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have some behind-the-scenes stories and photos and video to share throughout that episode, as well as maybe some other fun stuff. So that's our next episode. If you want to go watch it ahead of time, you can either rent it or buy it on Amazon for a couple bucks, or if you have Tubi, it's also available on Tubi. Just search for Wrath of the Viper Sniper. It's an hour long. I think if you've watched the other ones, I will say this. It's the quality. The quality is right on par with all the rest of them. And my favorite thing, the end of this, I was grinning nonstop the whole last 20 minutes because it just ties things up in a way that I found delightful personally.
I love that Clay and Adam are just able to keep that tone throughout.
Yes.
Which is hard enough to do.
Yeah, that, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a moment at the end of this movie, I got a little sentimental, Kyle. I'm not kidding. There's a moment at the end of the third movie where I was like, why am I getting choked up right now? I don't know. It was so funny. But that's going to be our next episode, like I said. And yeah, go watch it. It's well worth your time. It is helpful if you've seen the other ones recently, or watch our reviews of the other ones again. Because boy, I had to keep going back and finding information because I was like, I don't remember everything.
You got your notes, and you're just flipping through them real quick.
Wait, so what timeline was it where this happened? Yeah. So there's a lot going on, but it's a lot of fun and worth your time and your money. So go check that out, and then come back. We're talking about PMCB3. Till that time, keep watching movies. Whew.
Especially
out
for a kill.
Ugh.